Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Your Overseas Home webinar. Buying in Italy, let's talk visas, residency, and other relocation essentials. My name is Christopher Nye, and I am Senior Editor at Your Overseas Home and also Italy Property Guides. It's great to have you with us, whether you're watching live or catching up on demand. And in this webinar, I'm joined by Francesca Tardella from Sea Legal, who joins us from sunny Rome. So, Francesca, why don't you just start off by introducing yourself and Sea Legal?
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Francesca Tardella. I'm an attorney at law. I work for Sea Legal law office. We based mainly in Rome, but with other offices in Italy. And we focus on real estate and immigration services for expats who wish to relocate in Italy. Personally, I lived in the US for a few months. I have an American husband, so I'm pretty close to the US, and I have been assisting many people willing to relocate to Italy, assisting them from the visa process until the purchase of their real estate here in Italy. And I hope I can be of service for you as well.
Well, I'm sure you can, and we very much look forward to asking questions. I've got a whole bunch of questions myself, but we don't just want to hear from me. We want to hear from the audience as well. I'm sure they've got a whole bunch of questions to ask. So if you could put some questions as they occur to you into the questions tab on the right-hand side. And look, just to get you in the mood, just to get you typing, why don't you put in whether you are looking to retire to Italy or relocate for work, or you're just buying or you're buying a holiday home, and then we'll get a bit of interaction going. So it'd be great if you could just type in the questions tab what you're doing. Okay, fantastic. Now, if we don't get if we don't have time for your question, there is, as you can see, there's a QR code on the screen. I've just tested it. It works fantastic. You just point your smartphone at that QR code on the top left, and it will take you straight through to an appointment system. So we hope you will contact Francesca and organize an appointment with Sea Legal. So let's get straight down to it. Could you explain, Francesca, the 90 days rule and how long we can stay in Italy without even worrying about a visa?
Okay, yes. The 90 days rule is connected to the Schengen visa, which is a short stay visa requested to enter the Schengen area, of which Italy is part. So when you get the Schengen visa, you are allowed to be in the Schengen area for 90 days within a period of 180 days. You can also obtain a Schengen visa for multiple entries, meaning that if you fly into Italy and then you fly out after 1 week, and then you come back after, for example, 10 days. When you come back after the 10 days, the 90 days, that deadline doesn't start all over again. So the 90 days have to be counted in total within a whole period of 180 days. After that, you need to be out of the country for other 90 days.
Okay, and that applies to UK citizens and US and Australian, but not to EU citizens, obviously.
Exactly. Then there are some countries which are exempted, but US is not in the list of exemptions, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. So let's assume that we want to be there for more than 90 days. What are the options? Firstly, and I can see people responding, saying quite a few saying they want to retire to Italy. So what are the visa options for retired people?
Well, the most common visa option for those who have stopped working and they're retired is the elective residency visa. which allows extra EU citizen to live in Italy if they can prove that they can sustain themselves because they have sufficient financial resources which come from passive income, and if they can prove that they have a house here, or not, they don't need to own a house, but at least having a lease agreement or being hosted by somebody.
Okay, so that's the one for retired people. But you said a passive income, so that's from like a pension or retirement income. So you don't have to go out and work in Italy. I think that's the
exactly
point.
They require the passive income, meaning that yes, your income shouldn't derive from working activity, but from pensions or investments. Actually, for experience, I can tell you that also having a good amount of savings help you to obtain the elective residency visa, even if you're young and you're still working. So this happens because consulates have a lot of discretions actually in releasing this visa. So they are requested to review the whole economic situation. But for sure, what we know for sure is that active income deriving only from work doesn't allow you to obtain an elective residency visa.
Okay, now Deborah has asked, do you have to have a house leased for a certain amount of time before?
No.
Okay, so you would do that along with the application. Suppose you have already moved to Italy. And you're enjoying your 90 days, and then you think, you know what, we ought to make it official and get a visa. Do you then have to go back to the UK or the US and apply?
Yes, I mean, for a long stay visa, you need to get an appointment to the Italian consulate according to your place of residency. Yes, okay. You can't go straight in Italy.
Okay. I guess, I mean, we're explaining all this and people might think, oh, it sounds so hard, but you will sort all this out for people, won't you? So we're explaining the rules, but you will basically make it easy for them.
Oh, sure. I mean, there are some tips that we know about how the Italian consulate think and work. And I mean, of course, doing this for many years, let us know which are the documents, or for example, what they want to read in the cover letters, because some consulates also require cover letter to show the purpose of your choice to live in Italy. And yes, sometimes we suggest the client to show some documents, but don't show other documents that can't help them. Let's say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. And okay, let's think about people who are in today's world. Sometimes we kind of retired, but we're still doing a little bit of work, bit of consultancy, and so on. So suppose we're semi-retired, but we're still doing a bit of work online. Will we get away with a passive income visa for that?
Well,
different visa?
If their working activity is very limited, I mean, also if you can show that you're going to get your pension the next year, but you're very close to be fully retired, then in this case there wouldn't be a problem for the elective residency visa. Yes. Whereas if you're still active and you are able to work remotely, and your work activity still is a good part of your life, then you can check if you have the requirements to apply for a digital nomad visa, which is a very new visa for Italy because it Yes, many countries already had one. We didn't, but now we have it. And this is a big revolution because allow people who are still working to live in Italy for more than 90 days.
So can you tell me through the workings of the digital nomad visa? Is there anything, what should we know before we apply for it?
Well, the requirements are the following. You need to be, you can be both self employment worker, or you can be an employee of a company. You need to be a highly skilled worker, and you can prove this by showing your like degree or the years of experience you have in that field.
Okay.
For example, if you are a worker who needs to be registered in a board, like for example, I don't know, lawyers or accountants, you need to show your registration. They also require minimum income, which is actually not that high, is 25,000 per year.
Okay.
So you will be requested to submit your tax returns from the last like 2-3 months,
okay,
to show that you already have that income. And then they require the common requirements for long stay visa, which are proving a lodging. So you need to show availability of a house, and an health insurance covering emergency medical care, hospitalization, and repatriation.
Okay, I'm going to ask some of the audience questions as we go along. So Bridget is asking, is there a language test required for the elective visa?
No.
Or the digital nomad visa?
No, absolutely no.
Okay. Are there any language tests required for anything, or is that just for...
Only for citizenship.
Okay.
Only for some
Fine.
ways.
Okay. Danielle has asked how long the digital visa term is before renewal.
Normally it's released for 1 year, and it can be renewed another year for sure if the conditions are still met. Okay,
so I mean that's a bit worrying, because if I come there and I'm really enjoying myself and I bought a house maybe, and then that year finishes and I'm nowhere near a passive income level, I might have to leave, I guess.
Unfortunately, for the digital nomad visa, the law doesn't provide to switch from a permit of staying to another. So only for the digital nomad visa, you have to go back, yes.
Okay, sure.
If you want to switch to an elective residency, for example. But in other cases, no, you can switch in Italy.
Okay. And the elective residency, that goes for that can be renewed for...
Normally, the elective residency is released for 2 years, actually. And then it can be renewed as many years as you want if the conditions are still met.
Okay, great. Golden visas. Now, there's no nice, easy residency one, is there? I can't buy a 500,000 euro house and live in Italy, but there is a golden visa, I understand.
Yeah, the golden visa, we have a golden visa. It's made on purpose for those who are available to invest a big amount of money in some areas. For example, there are 3 options. One is for those who can invest at least 2 million euros in bonds issued by the Italian state. The second option is the purchase of shares in LCC-based incorporated in Italy. Mm-hmm. And also in this case, the threshold is pretty high. It's like 500,000 euros, of course.
Yeah.
And then the third option is investing in making a donation, a gift, in no-profit entities which carries out a public interest project.
Okay. What sort of investment?
I mean, economic. So giving at least, I remember the threshold is like at least €1 million.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Personally, I won't be going for that option, but there might be some people out there who are. Okay. What about work? We did get a question here somewhere. How about getting work with a local employer? I mean, we have lots of Italian people working here in the health service and shops and things. Can I not just go to Italy and get a work permit like that?
Well, working in Italy for a local employer is possible if you obtain a digital. It's possible and easy if you obtain a digital nomad visa. So if you meet the requirements of the digital nomad visa. Why? Because digital nomad visa is not connected to Decreto Flussi, which is the main law regarding labor immigration to Italy, and it's a very strict law, which was made like more than 20 years ago now, and that establishes quotas every year for the number of extra EU workers allowed in Italy, and they also establish the sectors where they are allowed to work. And it's very, I mean, was a restrictive law. So I think that the real thing is that if you're able to work remotely, the best option would be the digital nomad.
Okay.
Because it applies also to Italian employers, so that's why it can be used also.
Okay. Now, what about? And this is a question from Corinne, who has asked about opening a holiday let or that kind of business. Because I know it's the dream for lots of people to buy a place in Italy and then rent out. Have a little holiday business. In fact, our writer in Italy, Julia, does exactly that. So I believe so. What sort of visa would you need to offer holiday let?
Okay, in that case, I think that let me think, because there is nothing specific for this kind of activities.
Right. Okay. Well, Corinne will have your details. So perhaps you can ask directly.
Yeah. Also, because this kind of activities have a very specific regulation, so I think that they deserve focused.
Yes. Okay.
Talk.
Okay. So there's still some confusion over the 90-day. It's not a 90-day visa. It's just that you can be there for 90 days. If you're less than 90 days, you're basically on holiday.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't need any kind of visa. You can just enjoy your time there. Okay. Let's talk about some of the requirements for. No, we've had lots of questions about people who have an Irish passport or have a spouse who has an Irish passport. So what's the situation? Firstly, if you're married to an Italian person.
Yes. If you're married to an Italian person, you can obtain a permesso di soggiorno, permit of staying, for family reason. In this case, you can apply directly in Italy. You don't need a specific visa.
Okay.
And the length normally is at least it starts like by 4 or 5 years, something like that. So it lasts longer than the normal permit of staying.
Okay. And what about if you're married to an EU citizen, but you're not one yourself? So you might have your wife may have an Irish passport, for example.
In this case, the process is also pretty easy because the EU spouse shall establish his or her residency in Italy.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, she or he has to submit proof of having enough financial resources. Here, there is no requirement of passive income, any kind of resources. Also, the limit is pretty low. It's less than 10,000 euros per year.
Okay.
And you need to prove the availability of a house in order to register the residency.
Yeah.
After the EU person has been registered as a resident, then the spouse can apply for a special permit of staying.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain the difference between a resident and holding a permit of staying.
Oh, yes. There is a little bit of confusion on these topics because most of applicants think that after they obtain a visa and then they apply a permit, they obtain a permit of staying, then they can be considered automatically a resident in Italy. Actually, it's not like this, because in order to be considered resident and having also the benefits of a resident, you need to apply for residency. So first step, visa. Second step, permit of staying. Third step, if you want, applying for residency. And the application for residency has to be submitted to the municipality where you live. And the requirements are always the same: the availability of a house and the proof of having enough income to live.
Okay, so we've talked quite a lot about visas. Now, some people sent in some questions in advance, which is very helpful. Andrew has asked, if my spouse is a citizen of Italy and I'm not a spousal visa, do I need to also get residency to stay in the country longer than the 90 days?
If he already has a golden visa?
No, he would get a spousal visa.
Okay. No. After he gets the visa, he needs to apply for the connected permit of staying, and after the permit of staying is all set.
Okay. Now, tax. He says, and it's a question that other people have asked as well, if I get residency and I'm staying in Italy, where do I pay tax?
Well, those who live in Italy should check if their home country have bilateral agreements with Italy regarding tax. For example, the US has a bilateral convention with Italy, meaning that if you pay taxes in the US, you're not requested to pay taxes in Italy, and the contrary. So if you pay taxes in Italy, you're not requested to pay taxes in the US. Anyway, even when there are bilateral agreements between Italy and the home country, there are still some some formalities to be taken care of. And I mean, this topic is a bit specific. So for these formalities, I think that maybe we should.
Sure.
They should be in touch with the accountant of C Legal, because I'm not a tax consultant, so I don't want to mislead anybody.
Yeah, fair enough. It is. I think you are C Legal and Tax, aren't you? So it is
exactly.
It is a specialism of yours. Okay. If I have been in Italy for a while, can I then apply for citizenship? At what point can I apply to be an Italian citizen?
You need to be officially resident for 10 years.
Okay, right. It's quite a long time.
In order to apply. And when I mean resident, I mean residency, as I explained before. So application before the municipality, not only holding a permit of staying. And yes, you're also requested to take a language test in that case for the Italian citizenship.
Okay, well, after 10 years, that's fair enough, I would have thought. Okay, now thinking about the retirement visa, the passive income, the elective visa, as I think you refer to it. On what basis do you normally see people being refused?
Most of rejections are based on the lack of of income, because the criteria that the law has, that is like having at least 31,000 passive income per year, is only a criteria, but there is a lot of discretion of the consulates. And also they are a bit strict on the source of this income.
Okay.
So I think that, for example, for the elective residency, yes, most of problems regarding rejections are based on the lack of income requirement.
Now, explain the healthcare rules, because British people get confused very much over the S1 form that we can get it. But I believe for the visa, we have to have health insurance, and that's all there is to it. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, for any kind of visa, you need a private health insurance. That has to have some requirements. I mean, for example, if the limit is too low, they don't accept it. Anyway, when you obtain a visa, you obtain a permit of staying, and you become a resident, you don't need the health insurance anymore, because you can register as a resident in Italy, and among the benefits, we have the possibility to take advantage of the Italian healthcare system. So you can have your doctor, you can go to public hospitals.
So hang on. So at what point do you go from having to have insurance to being able to use the Italian state system?
After you become a resident and you apply for a tessera sanitaria. Tessera sanitaria is one makes you apt to use the social healthcare.
Okay. Okay. Now, how long does the visa application normally take?
Well, the normal length is 90 days according to the law, but for example, the elective residency visa can be much quicker, especially if you show the consulate that you already have an airplane tickets to Italy.
Okay.
They can accommodate you and having your documentation checked in a week or 10 days or so. I mean, it also depends where you apply. Some consulate, of course, are more popular than others. But for example, the digital nomad visa, the time is a bit longer because there is more documentation to be submitted and reviewed.
Okay. Another question from Andrew. Can my spouse, who is a citizen of Italy, stay in Italy as long as she wants without becoming a resident?
Yes.
Okay, so she can just come and go as she likes. Of course she can, yes. But if she's doing that, can I, on a spousal visa, also...
Yeah, no, she needs... she doesn't need to be a resident, but she needs a permit of staying, because as we explained before, it's different.
Okay. Don is asking, as an Irish and EU citizen, can I apply for residency immediately?
Is an Irish citizen? Did I hear correctly?
Yes.
Yes. You can apply straight to residency.
Okay. We've been applying for an Irish passport, and my mother can get an Irish passport because her parents were born there, and she doesn't even have to do anything. She just puts the application in. Whereas because I've got a grandparent who's born in Ireland, I have to go through a longer process. But it's not difficult to get an Irish passport, and it really does solve so many problems. Okay.
Can I only add something regarding the visa process, because I think it might be very helpful for those who are listening to us. When there is a visa application, if the consulate thinks that the applicant hasn't submitted something that is essential, they will never refuse your application right away, but they are obliged by law to let you know the missing documentation, and they're obliged to give you a deadline to add that documentation. And then if you don't send the additional documentation, you can get a rejection. But the good thing is that you can't have a refusal before being warned before on the reason why you can risk a refusal.
Okay, so it sounds like people are quite helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one's trying to catch you out and and stop you getting in. So okay, we've run out of time. So like I say, do please use your phone on that QR code, and then you'll go straight through to an appointment with be able to book an appointment with Francesca, who has given us some fantastic answers and nice and brief, to the point, very clear, absolutely fantastic. So thank you. We do really recommend that our viewers contact Francesca at C Legal to get the answers to all their questions. If you found this webinar helpful, it'd be great if you could give us a little review on Trustpilot, just to get the word out. There should be a link coming up. There you go. Fantastically done. So all it remains for me to say is thank you to Francesca and all the team at C Legal. And thank you most of all to our viewers for tuning in, and good luck with your move to Italy. Thank you. Bye-bye.